Gingell,
Here.
Kuhn,
Here.
Lubes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first item is approving the minutes dated July 12, 2022. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner Gingell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. The next item is approving our agenda. I have a motion by Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner, who would like to support that? Commissioner Nelson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. We move on to our first public comment. This is for comments for items on the agenda. Is there anyone from the public wishing to comment this morning? All right, public comment is closed. We move on to communications. There are 4 items under communications. Grant application with the Bissell Pet Foundation for the 2022 Empty the Shelter event. The second item is a grant application exception with the Michigan State Police for the fiscal year 2023 Paul Coverdell Forensic Science Improvement Program. The third item is a grant application exception with the U.S. Department of Justice for the fiscal year 2022 DNA Capacity Enhancement for Backlog Reduction Program. The last item is a quarterly report, April through June, from Haven. And I would like to go back to the Bissell Pet Foundation. There are grants or monies available through Bissell Pet Foundation 6 times a year. However, they give a couple of weeks' notice for that. At times, it's not enough notice to come before our committee for approval. So it would make sense to have one approval at the beginning of the fiscal year for the grant applications, to accept the grant applications that perhaps our chair might consider signing with notice or an email notice to this committee regarding the grant application. Is it Commissioner McGilvery?
I would make a motion to approve all the communications, including granting the right to apply for any Bissell's grants.
Thank you. Support by Commissioner Gingell. Commissioner Gingell, you have a question?
Yeah, I just have a question. So I have no issue with authorizing the ability to apply for a grant. I think the chair has that ability anyway, just to provide us notice, so I don't think it changes anything. And then just because we apply, once it's granted and we accept, that comes back as additional action to the board. So for me, I'm totally fine with it.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right, roll call, please. Yeah, you're welcome to prompt the vote.
Okay.
Help yourself.
Just want to make sure. Thank you. We have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion. Communications are approved. On our regular agenda, the first item is from the Sheriff's Office, a grant application with the Michigan State Police for the fiscal year 2023 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program. A motion by Commissioner Gingell, support from Commissioner Nelson, and we have Guy up here to talk about this item.
Good morning. I think the undersheriff is joining virtually. I don't know if he's on yet, but in the meantime, you have me.
Thank you.
So this is our, there he is. He's
Hello,
here.
Undersheriff.
So this is our annual application for the Narcotics Enforcement Team Grant with the Michigan State Police. Our application amount is $521,648. We usually apply for the whole program, but we don't anticipate getting full funding. So obviously we'll bring it back with the amount that we do get approved for. What we're asking is to continue 2 full-time sergeants, a part-time office support clerk, and 1 full-time assistant prosecutor senior in the prosecuting attorney's office to continue this program.
Thank you. Any questions about this item? Roll call, please.
8 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, and that item is approved. Thank you. Next item from the Sheriff's Office is a resolution approving the use of non-departmental general fund for the Woodward Dream Cruise special event signage by the Road Commission for Oakland County. I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, support from Commissioner McGilvery. All right, Gaia, what would you like to say about this item?
Okay, so this is our annual request. We are required at the Sheriff's Office to get a traffic control order for the Woodward Dream Cruise, but we are not allowed to set up the signs, so we must use the Road Commission to do that. Each year, they provide us a quote. This year, it's a not-to-exceed amount of $10,573.60. So what they do is put up the signs saying, you know, what the traffic situation is going to be or where not to go during the Dream Cruise, so they set up and they take down.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner McGilvery?
Yeah, I'm curious why that has to be done. Is it contractual with the unions as far as the road commission doing the signs, or?
That I'm not aware. I can check it. I thought it was from the Michigan Department of Transportation, a requirement.
It could be,
That we wouldn't be allowed to do it, that they would have to do it at the Road Commission, so, but I can follow up. I'll find out for you
Okay.
and let you know.
Yeah, I believe you're correct. I remember going to a meeting a couple years ago, and we were advised at the state that we couldn't do it and had to utilize the road commission signs.
Any other questions? Commissioner Cavell?
Just to note, I don't know if this is the answer you have, Gabe, but the administrative overhead is 17% for this. I know it's not that much money, so maybe it's just how things go. But
Well, historically, it's come in less than their quote, just if that gives you any, I think they have to build in a contingency just in case, depending on, you know, if there's something happens, there's extra overtime or whatever, but the quotes have normally been higher and they bill us for actual time.
Okay.
So, if that helps.
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions? Roll call, please, or prompt the vote.
Thank you.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Our next item from the Sheriff's Office is an interlocal agreement with the Renaissance Festival for 2022 to 2024 law enforcement services. A motion by Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner McGilvery.
Okay, so this is a new agreement or a renewal agreement. Our 3-year agreement expired, so we're looking to do another 3-year agreement with the Renaissance Festival. It's our standard agreement. We bill them our overtime rates. We have, as you can see in the agreement, there's a set schedule of what level of personnel they need and the hourly amounts. The only change to the agreement we added in section 8.1 that we've been doing with all of our outside agreements is that sergeants and lieutenants can fill a Deputy 2 slot if it will reduce forced overtime. So, I mean, obviously you all are aware of the forced overtime situation that we have. So what we've done is added this. Sergeants and lieutenants don't have a ton of opportunity for overtime, so it's been a welcome reprieve for those positions so the deputies aren't getting forced.
Thank you. Any questions? Prompt the vote, please.
You have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries. Our last item from the Sheriff's Office is a donation acceptance of 2 support canine dogs, Wildcat and Sadie. Who would like to make a motion? We have a motion by Commissioner Hoffman, support from Commissioner Jackson.
So happy to report that we have another donation of 2 more therapy canines, and obviously everybody is thrilled because they are super cute and very well received. So Wildcat is actually going with the newest Independence Township School Resource Officer, and then Sadie is in the city of Pontiac with Deputy Garrett in Community Policing. So,
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Powell?
This was my first time holding a dog.
Ever?
So, ever.
Oh. So you got to
when
meet Sadie?
Deputy Garrett brought Sadie to one of our community events. So, yeah, I posted the video. It's cute, but yeah, that was my first time.
Aren't they sweet? I mean, their
Yes, they
faces
are.
are so cute.
I was very nervous, but yeah.
You afraid of dogs?
Yeah, when I was younger, I've seen 2 kids get mauled. So I don't fool with dogs.
So did this help a little bit? Did Sadie help?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of adults around just in case. So I was safe. I felt safe.
Oh, good. And she's
Right.
like this, isn't she? I haven't seen her yet because I've heard they've been in the office, but I've missed
Yes,
them. But they're
very
like
little,
this
very little.
big. So okay. Aw,
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, prompt the vote, please.
You have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for attending.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Our next item is from the Animal Shelter and Pet Adoption Center, a donation acceptance from Mr. Jerry Koffel. I have a motion by Commissioner Ginzel, support from Commissioner McGilvery. So this is a donation acceptance in the amount of $100,000 from Mr. Jerry Koffel in honor of his wife Diane to our shelter. And Bob Kett is here to talk about the donation.
Good morning, Commissioners. First of all, thank you for your vote earlier on the Bissell event. That's something that is very near and dear to us. We've had over 800 animals adopted since Bissell started in 2016, I believe it was. The problem with it is they don't give us enough notice to get all the approvals through the administration and through the board. And when we're not approved, that means we don't take part in their advertising campaign. And so many people in the county think that we're not participating when in fact we are. If we get this approved one time at the beginning of the fiscal year, from that point forward, we will be able to participate fully and be included in the advertising. So thank you very much for that. Once the board approves it as a whole and the chairman signs it, then Fiscal Services will allow us to do that. So thank you. What I'm here for today, about a month ago, I received a phone call from a resident in Waterford, wanted to speak to me, wanted me to come out to his house, which I did. Mr. Jerry Koffel is a man who unfortunately has a terminal illness. His wife has died several years ago before him. They were married for 45 years. She was a dog lover. She had 3 dogs in their marriage and loved every one of them. And Mr. Koffel wanted to memorialize her love for animals by donating $100,000 to our shelter. Which he has done once we get your approval to accept it. That money would be put into our legacy fund, and we are working feverishly trying to devise a plan to add a number of outside pens to our shelter, which will, once approved, will come to you for approval to move forward once we get the approval from the architects and so on. So Mr. Koffel's donation will help with that project immensely.
Thank you. Commissioner Ginzel?
I'm sure Mr. Gatt will send a thank you letter, but I think we should request that the board send one as well and/or some type of proclamation recognizing the donation significant, right? So I just add that maybe as a friendly amendment into the motion.
We'd love to do a proclamation if his health would allow that.
Yeah, he may not be able to attend, but I'm saying.
Yeah, I spoke with him yesterday, and he's in dire straits. I'm not sure how much longer he'll be with us. The county we are creating a plaque that will memorialize this to be put in a part of our building that everybody will see it when they walk in our lobby. We're working with Pam Trumbull in our marketing department trying to get at least a mock-up of it that we can show him. He wants to see that. So,
okay.
But anything from the board I'm sure would be very well received.
Thank you.
I support that amendment if that's a motion.
I was just making a friendly amendment without objection, just
okay.
adding it to it.
Thank you.
Good idea.
Yes. Anything else? Prompt the vote, please.
You have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Our next item is from Health and Human Services, the Neighborhood and Housing Development Grant Application with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for the program year 2022 Annual Action Plan. I have a motion by Commissioner Powell, support from Commissioner Cavell. What this actually means is that it will help to assess our affordable housing and community development needs and market conditions. That is data-driven. And we have Shane Bias here to speak to this. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. So what this is an application for, this is our regular annual application for our normal HUD funding from the Community Development Block Grant, about $5.2 million, from the Home Investment Partnership Grant for about $3 million, and then from the Emergency Solutions Grant, which comes out to about $325,000 every year. And this is our normal funding that we get every year. This is just the application phase. As a reminder, what happens is we turn in our annual action plan that states, through citizen participation, community input, and some past miscellaneous resolutions, et cetera, what we plan to do with the money. We submit that application with the annual action plan to HUD. HUD reviews it, makes sure everything is allowable, and they will approve that plan. And then usually around September, October-ish, depending upon how quickly HUD moves, they will send us some agreements that will come back through the Board of Commissioners for official acceptance of this program year 22 annual action funding. And as a quick reminder, CDBG, we support housing counselors mostly with that. We support all of the municipal activities, infrastructure improvements. They support some public services such as Meals on Wheels, et cetera. They also, some elect to support Haven and some other public services with their own CDBG funds that are allocated to them. Home. The only major shift that we did this year compared to past years is because of the passage of the Housing Trust Fund and some other funding sources that are going to be able to support other rental developments. We've moved some of that funding back into the home improvement program, so we'll be able to do some more home improvement activities for eligible homeowners. We still have to have some rental support within our regular home budget per our voluntary compliance agreement with the fair housing side of HUD. And what we have in the plan right now easily meets that minimal amount, which is 20% of our regular allocation. And then there aren't any major changes in the Emergency Solutions Grant. That is still largely supported by a past miscellaneous resolution. We spend a portion of it on shelter operations support for some of the local shelter operators, as well as some homeless prevention and rapid rehousing activities that those same agencies help to support individuals experiencing homelessness. So that's what you have before you today, is just an application to the to HUD for us to get our regular annual year funding.
Thank you. Any questions or comments, Commissioner Ginzel?
Yeah, hey Shane, just a couple quick questions. So this grant, and if it's the dollars that come in this grant, this is what really drives the CBDG money for our local communities, like Orion Township might use that money to do some type of road infrastructure improvement under the guidelines of the program, right? I mean, this is the application that funds that for the local areas. So I just want to make sure everybody here understood that if we voted no, that money would not flow to our communities. The other thing is on the home changes, I get the change that you mentioned, but I want to also make sure that we have no ability to change local zoning ordinances that are adhered to through townships like Orion in their master plan process, at which that local body adopts their master planning plan and the associated zoning ordinances, right?
Correct.
These dollars will not supersede that.
Right. So for example, let's say we put out a notice of funding availability, which the next one we plan to put out using supported by gap financing, supported by home dollars. We plan to put another one out September, October-ish, right around there. A developer say, hey, I have this great plan, I have this great proposal for some affordable housing opportunity in city, village, and township XYZ.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they have to get their approvals for any zoning changes or any amendments or approval processes through that local municipality. And usually what happens is that developer has a window of opportunity to make sure all those approvals are in place. Because we have spending deadlines we have to meet with regards to HUD for some of our home dollars. So if we don't feel that money that we committed to that support of that development will come to fruition, we pull it back within a certain time frame, and then we put it back out for a notice of funding availability, and that process starts it over. So to answer your question in short, no, we cannot change any local municipality rules, zoning regulations, that we might commit to a developer for a particular housing development.
Commissioner Ginzel?
Thank you for that, and sorry for belaboring it, but just for the committee, I know there's a number of individuals making comments around this regarding the community, and they're just incorrect. And I wanted to make sure that as we vote on this stuff, people understand that this is what's really happening with the HUD grant. It's something that's been consistent. It funds our local communities with their CDBG money, which they authorize the projects, and it doesn't give us authority over their zoning. So there's no collusion between Oakland County and any city, village, or township relative to development, to my knowledge.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell?
Is there any way, Shane, that we can provide some talking points to commissioners so we stay on point of explanation to just stress the concern that Commissioner Ginzel had, just to make sure we're properly informed on how this go?
With regards to
Or just important points to explain or make sure that we have a clear knowledge of interpreting this to our constituents, and we're not informing them. So just off the conversation of you and Commissioner Ginzel had, because I know it's a very complicated thing with the CDBG and stuff. So anything talking points wise that you think is just good for us to have when we're talking to our community to explain these things. I will leave that to your discretion because you kind of know more, but just provide something to commissioners just to give them a heads up. This is what is moving forward, and some detailed talking points in regards to what was Ginzel's concerns.
Yeah.
Commissioner
Sorry if
Ginzel,
I may. So
Commissioner
the
Hall.
item summary is a pretty good start there. Shane may have other
okay.
ideas around it, but
Okay.
you might use that. And just so I wasn't insinuating anyone here. I'm just saying I have individuals in my community that are making these statements that are incorrect.
But I love talking points. So I just think it's just for us to be safe in what we're conveying. It's up to you, Shane, but I just thought I would. But if he feels the summary is self-sufficient. Okay, great.
Well, it wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world for me to just, because again, our consolidated plan, we do that every 5 years.
Okay.
The annual action plan, I have to come every year to go through the application and then the agreement process.
Okay.
It generally follows suit with a consolidated plan. So the talking points, generally speaking, won't change from year to year. So
Okay.
It would be probably worthwhile to kind of put together a little 101 like that, just so everybody's kind of on the same page. Generally speaking, how we choose as a community to utilize the money from these three main funding sources.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Hoffman?
Some of this community development block grant money is used by these municipalities to rehab houses. Is there a rule that says, well, there used to be in Waterford when I was there 30-some years ago, that if somebody lived in their home for, say, 20 years, and we did a rehab on their house, they never had to pay it back. Well, back then, we had a great concern about the federal government cutting back this money, so we said whenever the house changes hands, we get that money back. It's an interest-free loan, we get it back, and when I left there, I think we're getting over $100,000 back per year plus that we could recycle through the program. Is there a rule that this money has to be paid back for those particular projects, or is it up to a local municipality?
So I don't want to muddy the waters too much because Waterford is one of those communities that gets their own CDBG funding directly from HUD. It doesn't pass through Oakland County.
Okay.
However, we do support some homes in Waterford with our home dollars for our home improvement program. So the long and short of it is that of the 50+ municipalities that either get their CDBG funding through us or directly from HUD, a healthy number elect to use a portion of that for their own home improvement program, be it what you will. And sometimes that can't be too much money because some of the smaller communities, they don't get as much money. They can maybe do 1 home or 2 homes to assist. How they administer that CDBG funding, as long as it's for a CDBG eligible activity, whether it's a loan or a grant, the stipulations of that loan, that is up to that municipality. I think most elect to do it as a grant because that's simplest. What we elect to do with our home improvement funding through home and our own CDBG money that we retain at the county for our home improvement program, we set them up, as you stated, a 0% interest-free deferred loan that doesn't come due until transfer of ownership upon sale of the house. And the reason why we do that is that money that comes back in, usually paid off from proceeds of the home, we turn that quote unquote revenue and we turn that right back around and we put it back into the home improvement program so we can continue to do probably on average about twice as many homes than we otherwise could do with just our regular allocation that we get directly from HUD.
All right, thank you, and I think that's a good policy to have, to recycle the money and help more people. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, prompt the vote, please.
Jackson? You have 9 yeas.
I voted, but
All
didn't
right,
say
motion
it.
carries. Thank you. Thank you, Shane. Our last item on the agenda is a resolution appropriating American Rescue Plan Act local fiscal recovery funds to address safety concerns in the school district of the city of Pontiac. And we also have an amendment. So I have a motion by Commissioner Powell, support from Commissioner Ginto. Commissioner Powell, would you like to address this item?
Yeah, so basically, 3 years ago, for some of my commissioners, you all may remember when I first got in, we were having some issues at the high school to where I was having riots. Even Sheriff Bouchard ended up on the grounds to try to calm that situation. And at that time, the school district superintendent, the school president asked me to try to get some resources, try to get funding for another resource officer. Well, 3 years ago, I didn't know this, but they never appropriated the funds. Let's fast forward 3 years, post-COVID, we know a lot of situations is going on. as far as safety around here, and it has come to my request by our president, school board president, Gil Garrett, who is actually a sheriff, one of our sheriffs, and also our superintendent, and also our Captain Ewing, my captain out there, to request in needing a little more assistance in tackling youth issues in my city that revolves around violence. So they asked me to put in this request for another officer for at least a year. Let's see how it goes. If we need to request one more, more moving forward. But as of right now, it's kind of emergency. I don't want to deliberate this anymore. And I'm just asking for y'all support and supporting me in putting an officer in my school district in the city of Pontiac. And right now, I know they are still trying to, and I think the amendment contributes to this, but I know they're trying to figure out the number as far as how much this will cost. I know it's under 200 though, correct?
It should be, so.
If you can, yeah, because that's the only thing that's missing, and that's what the amendment is about. But
But
Gail
it-
can speak to it.
I see 244,000.
Okay, I don't have, that,
No. That is just saying overall. No. That's the over. No. I don't. Hold on. No. That's just saying the overall. That's 244 million from the overall ARPA funding that this will come from.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Thank you.
So this funding, I'm asking for it to be a one-time from ARPA funding, and Gail can speak a little bit more about the funding.
yeah, so I've been working with Fiscal Services and the Director of Management Budget, Kyle Jen, and then the new Fiscal Services Officer to figure out the best way to fund it. Because at first we had talked about, do we want to do an amendment to Pontiac's agreement? And that was decided, no, we don't want to do that because we're not actually billing anybody for this. It will just be a one-year general fund sunset position. But then the problem with that is that we need a car and whatever else for the person to be mobile and to work within the school district. So I've actually texted Kyle today just to see how, I know they had questions about using ARPA funds versus regular general fund dollars. So I'm hoping to have a call with him this afternoon to get that part worked out. But basically what we would be doing is creating a Deputy 2 position for Sunset next August. And then it would be county funding for a car and the body-worn camera and the equipment that goes along with the car.
Thank you. So right now, there's no budget for it.
Right, because we were looking at the contracted rate, which we couldn't really do if it's going to be in the general fund, because it's not, that's a billable amount in the contractual agreements. So we would have to do, I don't know if Fiscal Services has costed it out, so I was going to give them a call and find out, because I know this is being referred to finance tomorrow, and obviously the budget amendment needs to be incorporated at that time, so. And then Barbara, have you heard anything else from Kyle? Okay.
Nope.
All right, I have not either, so I've reached out to him, haven't heard back, so I will try to get in touch with him again this afternoon so we can have it finalized.
And we've been working on this for a while, you guys. So I don't know why we can't get this figure under control, but I do know it's less than 200 grand.
Yeah, so and if I could just clarify too, Commissioner, so 3 years ago, we actually did appropriate some money, but it was on an overtime basis, so we didn't actually create a position. We were trying to fill the gap in the schools with overtime.
Got
and
it,
we were
okay.
tracking that, but then COVID hit, so we weren't able to use the full amount. So
Got it, okay.
there was some money set aside for it, but it wasn't able to be fully utilized because of the pandemic and the schools shut down.
Thank
so.
you for the correction.
Sure, yep.
Commissioner Genzel?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. So I'm looking at the amendment. So we have the motion on the floor right now, and it looks like there was an amendment that actually talks about a budget amendment appropriating funds for the one patrol officer. So if Commissioner Powell's moving her amendment, I'll support it so that we have the motion as amended.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So the amendment is that appropriating funds for the costs associated with adding one patrol investigator position in the school district of the city of Pontiac will be included in a subsequent quarterly forecast resolution. But this would be defined by tomorrow, correct?
Well, and that's what I need to verify with Kyle, because Fiscal Services will have to determine what the exact budget amendment is. So I sent him a text to say, is this doable by tomorrow? Or I don't know where that language came from because I wasn't involved in the amendment in the subsequent quarterly forecast. So it's cleaner.
Can Barbara speak to it for me?
It's cleaner if we do it tomorrow, but
Commissioner Genzel?
Yeah, so to me, this is an internal procedural matter that we'll figure out, and we have figured out in the past. I just want to speak to the resolution as amended. I appreciate Commissioner Powell bringing it. Using ARPA funds is unique circumstance for sure, but I think it's a good use of the money. I know that a number of our schools, like Orion, contract with the sheriff's office to have school liaisons. And within a conversation I was having with Karen Joliet, I think this group, or maybe we form a subcommittee, to look at the opportunity to form like a bi-party funding mechanism, or tri-party if you include the township, the local municipality, the school, and the county, to offer more school liaisons if the schools want them, right? And we figure out a way to put officers in the schools that get to know the kids, that build relationships with the kids. That's what the school liaison officers do, and they've done it in Orion and other areas. And for us not to do something today that we could do that puts in place at least a mechanism for the fall, to me it's irresponsible. So happy to support it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cavell?
Why is this called a patrol investigator instead of a school resource officer?
Well, that's the term, that's the contractual term. If you look at the rates that we have set, so a patrol investigator it could be a detective or a school resource officer, and basically it's a different contracted amount because it comes with a full-time car versus a shared car. So that's actually, we could update it to school resource officer just to eliminate any confusion. But actually in the, I had noted in the now therefore be it resolved where it says patrol investigator, we're really creating a position of a deputy too. So those are kind of used interchangeably. A lot of municipalities, it's changing now, obviously because of the Oxford incident where they're using a school resource officer all year round. But a lot of them will have an agreement with the school where they have the SRO for 9 months and the school pays for that. And then during the summer months or, another set time frame, they act as a detective within the municipality. So that's kind of a catch-all title, but not an official county position title, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then the other thing is just a comment on why we had to change make the amendment is because we haven't received the Schedule A from the executive's office. So just more broadly speaking, I don't know if anyone from the executive's office is on. Do we know that? Or is anyone?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So that's their way of tacitly saying they don't support this. I think it's disappointing that the first thing to come specifically for Pontiac from ARPA is one, adding someone with a gun to a school, but more importantly, Pontiac's our county seat. They have a lot of ARPA money that can be leveraged and should be leveraged to support their community, and it's unfortunate that we have yet to see that from the county executive approving things and or from Pontiac, but it sounds like Pontiac's working on trying to get their ARPA out the door to support and improve their community so that their residents can thrive. And it's bad that this is the first thing in the way it comes to us from the executive's office is without even a nod of support. So I don't like guns in schools, don't like cops with guns in schools, but I think it's even worse that the executive's office is putting this up as the first thing to support Pontiac, and there hasn't been any other thing from what we've seen on this board to support Pontiac. That's a bummer.
Commissioner Cavell, I think there are a number of assumptions on your part that are not true. This resolution initiated from Commissioner Powell. We're waiting on the finance for the budget numbers. And I would hope that you would look at our sheriffs or police officers as armed social workers, because in effect, that's what they really do. They're not in the school to say, hey, I have a gun, here is my gun, look at me. They're here to help and support, people.
The main thing I was trying to say is that the county executive feels like they ought to get off their butts to do more for Pontiac. That's the main point of what I'm saying. Please don't focus on the guns and cops in schools thing. The main point is, it's unfortunate we're not seeing more from the county executive approving ARPA to match and leverage Pontiac's efforts.
All right, anything else? Commissioner Powell?
I just want to say this. Thank you, Charlie, for the support in your comments. But just to let you know, just to be a little fair here, the mayor's office is in the process. The mayor Tim Grammer's office for the city of Pontiac are in discussions right now to eventually submit something in a more packaged form of ARPA funding requests to assist the city. Now, how that's going to come down the pipeline, we shall see. But just to let you know, just from a timing of where they're at with things too. That's where we're at with the city of Pontiac and where their stuff is. They haven't actually submitted their full request for ARPA funding support for the city. But it is coming though, just so you know. But thank you so much for your support.
Commissioner McGilvery?
Yeah, my question is this eligible under ARPA funds? A resource officer in the school?
Yeah.
Our wonderful analyst has a few words on that.
Microphone.
I believe so. It is, and as resolution states, the Department of Treasury, in their final rule, they explicitly said that communities experiencing a surge in gun violence as a result of pandemic may use the ARPA funds for purposes such as hiring law enforcement officials even above pre-pandemic levels or paying overtime, where the funds are directly focused on advancing community policing strategies in those communities experiencing an increased gun violence. And on the same note, the ARPA guidelines specified which communities it is, and Pontiac is that community in our neck of the woods.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioner Jackson?
I just want to say, in listening to this conversation, there's such a historical perception here because Commissioner Powell stated that this was something that needed addressing prior to the pandemic. And as Barbara mentioned, these funds became available because of the pandemic impacts that she mentioned. So I really feel as though it's a great time to be trying to secure this while we can to address this issue. I'm here, sitting here representing the city of Southfield that has some of the same issues. Just seeing and thinking how it differs because Pontiac is policed by the Oakland County Sheriffs versus we have our own municipal law enforcement. So I just want to say that I'm happy to see this, and I know there's been a disparity historically with Pontiac and its preeminence of it being our county seat. And so I appreciate you bringing that to light in the discussion. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate Commissioner Powell making an inroad with obtaining more security for our schools. And I agree. I just don't look at law enforcement as guns in our schools. We have a lot of debate on the prison pipeline and a lot of other issues to discuss. But first things first, we want our kids to be safe. And we want our kids to be able to go to school, especially after the pandemic, because of what Barbara cited as far as how it truly impacted our communities of color or lower income at a greater level. So thank you, and thank you for bringing that up. And I'm for this, totally for this.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Wonderfully said. Any other comments? So what we have before us is the resolution and an amendment. And after this vote, I'd like to discuss the proposal about an ad hoc committee moving forward to look at school liaison officers in our communities. Commissioner Powell?
And I was going to say, I think it's a good time that we do look at that because just recently, last week, I know our prosecutor is putting together a task force to look at the overall violence just as a county, period. So I think the timing of us considering looking at this for our schools and just her putting this task force together, the timing is just right. So thank you.
Sure. Any other comments or questions? All right, roll call, please, on the amendment, yes. My roll call actually means prompt the vote.
We knew that.
Thank you.
You have 9 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, motion carries.
I keep saying it today. And then we have to do the as
Yes,
amended.
yes. All right, now the motion as amended. Prompt the vote, please.
One moment.
All right, that motion carries, so it's moving to the Finance Committee, dependent on the budget amendment. Okay, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
I'll work with Barbara and try to get a hold of Kyle again and see if we can get that worked out this afternoon. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your support.
Commissioner Ginzel, then would you like to make a motion to organize an ad hoc committee to explore school liaison officers?
So moved. And I just ask that we have, include the sheriff's office as well as the other applicable administrative departments.
Okay.
And I support
Support
it.
by Commissioner Powell.
Mhm.
So we can look at an ad hoc committee composed of 3 commissioners. Do you want more commissioners?
3 Republicans and 1 Democrat.
Bob.
How about we just say
Make
it
me-
appointed by the chair?
Yeah,
Okay.
he can
All right,
figure that
perfect.
out.
Draft something.
I would assume it would be a couple commissioners, 3 to 2 or 2 to 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't see this necessarily being controversial.
No,
No,
it
there-
shouldn't be
there won't be
controversy either. It shouldn't be.
Commissioner Hoffman, we could say 3 people because we're all people.
That's fine, I'm joking.
Okay, yes.
Lighten up.
This
Yes.
person is interested.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Prompt the vote, please.
For starting a subcommittee thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And social workers with guns in Uvalde too.
Nelson?
It's okay to disagree.
Oh, I didn't hit save, sorry.
You have 8 yeas, 1 nay.
All right. That motion is carried. That's our last item on the agenda. We move to public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address this committee?
Tasha Shergan from Clarkston. I don't know, Commissioner Cavell, I've heard quite a few of your comments during committee meetings and board meetings that, and I've watched your votes, and it seems like you don't support our sheriff's department. And
I'm going to interrupt you for a moment.
He
You're
agreed.
welcome to public comments, but you cannot identify a certain person
Okay.
to address it to.
My
It would be to
apologies.
the committee as a whole and not single out someone.
Okay, great. The most important people in the world are protected by guns, yet our children are in school systems that are gun-free zones. I personally think having a sheriff overlooking or having a presence in a school, especially when there's been a lot of problems in the school district, is vital to protect our children. I'm shocked that any commissioner does not support and want to fund the police. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ross Baranco, Novi. I sent the email to each of the 21 commissioners, and I also followed it up with a certified letter, which is a legal document requesting the commission to cite their authority to form a de jure land bank and not a de facto unconstitutional entity. And I have not received a reply from any of the 21 commissioners. And I expected somebody to know where their authority was and be able to cite it. And it seems like it shouldn't take a week to do it if you know that you really have that legal authority. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right, public comment is closed, and there is no other business to come before this committee. We are adjourned at 11:50. Thank you.
Great job.
Okay.